Minister of Foreign Affairs of Hungary, Mr. Bíter Sziartó, welcome to Lebanon and thank you for being our special guest on O.T.Fi channel today.
Thank you so much for the kind invitation.
Do you believe first the ceasefire agreement in Lebanon will be permanent since the Israeli army has not fully withdrawn yet from southern Lebanon?
Well, unfortunately, I don't have the capacity of a fortune teller, but I definitely can tell you that we are very, very hopeful that this ceasefire agreement will last long. And I hope it not from political perspective, but I hope it from humanitarian perspective. Because I understand that the people in Lebanon do have the right to live under peaceful, secure and safe circumstances. And a war and constant attacks definitely violate this right of these people. And we do believe that the ordinary Lebanese people do not have any kind of responsibility when it comes to the overall situation, which is very fragile, obviously, in the Middle East. And the ordinary Lebanese people should not suffer from the consequences. Therefore, we did welcome wholeheartedly the ceasefire agreement. That's why we are happy with the fact that since the ceasefire agreement has been established, more or less the Lebanese people again have the right to live under relatively safe and secure and stable circumstances. And we want this right of the Lebanese people to be practiced on a long time. So we hope that the geopolitical changes recently will contribute to this ceasefire to take long and to ensure that Lebanese people can live under safe conditions.
Hope so. Hungary's name was linked to the Pager's bombing last September in Lebanon that killed and injured many of Hezbollah fighters. Are investigations on this matter still ongoing?
Yeah, I mean, we were very nervous about this fact because our name, the name of the country, has been confused with something with which we had nothing to do. So these pagers have not been manufactured in Hungary. These have never been to Hungary. Somehow a company in Hungary having no capacities to manufacture was included in a chain of trade or mediation or something like this. But definitely we had nothing to do with that. And you can be absolutely sure that we would never be involved in any action which would harm the security and the stability of Lebanon.
To what extent do you believe that political stability in Lebanon has been restored after electing a new president and after the formation of the new government, and how do you see this new government excluding some essential parties in Lebanon?
Well, if you raise the question in a way whether it's better to have a president than not to have a president, I would definitely say yes, it's much better to have a president. If you ask me whether it's better to have a government or not to have a government, the answer is again obvious, it's better to have a government. So I think that from the perspective of ensuring stability and security to the country, it's much better now than it used to be during the vacancy of these positions. I even heard a very nice and fair statement from President Basil just in the last minute, saying that since the president has been elected, he is the president of all the Lebanese people, including those who have supported the Free Patriotic movement. So, and I think this is the way how responsible politicians should act. And I know Gebran for a long time, you know President Basil for a long time. We have served together as foreign ministers for long years. And I always enjoyed every minute of this cooperation. And I know him as a very responsible person who feels love for his country, who feels loyalty to his religion. So for me, it's always an honor to work together with him, regardless whether he is in power or in opposition. Friendship, loyalty are way beyond, political terms or times. And I do hope that, that this cooperation between us or among us will stay. Of course, we establish a respect-based cooperation with the president because the president represents Lebanon. And since we respect Lebanon, we respect the Lebanese people, we respect the president, obviously, as well. So in the upcoming period of time, we will do our best in order to further improve the relationship between Lebanon and Hungary. And of course, this relationship is going to concentrate a lot on strengthening the Christian communities in this country. And when it comes to strengthening the Christian communities, we cherish the cooperation we have been enjoying so far with the Free Patriotic Movement.
Great. Concerning Christian community, Lebanon has a unique distinction in the region. It is the only Arab country led by a Christian president. Do you fear that Christians here may lose their presence and their role?
Well, we have to be honest in this regard. You know, we are a country which has a more than 1,000-year-long Christian statehood. Our statehood has always been attached to Christianity. So therefore, we feel responsibility for the Christian communities all around the world, especially in regions where they are under threat or where they are being forced to leave or where they are persecuted. And if you look at the Middle East, it's obvious that many developments have taken place recently which have led to the dropping of the number of the Christians living in the region. And this is unacceptable. So therefore, we never accept any kind of political attacks, any kind of intentions, any kind of violate actions which aim at the Christians to leave. Therefore, we will always support the Christian communities to stay. Therefore, we always support programs which strengthen the Christian communities in a way that they cannot be forced to leave. And that's why I think the cooperation between us and the FPM here is a benchmark, because together we were able to manage more than 30 projects in the last 7 years, which have aimed successfully at strengthening the Christian communities in a way that they could stay. You know, it would be easy, but I think very dangerous, you know, to encourage the Christians to leave and offer them better circumstances somewhere else. But where it would lead? It would lead to the cradle of the Christianity, to get rid of the Christians. And this is something that no one wants, I hope.
This is why you helped restoring churches. Absolutely. And you gave scholarships to Lebanese students too.
Oh, absolutely. We have participated in reconstruction of more than 30 churches. I personally visited some of them. It was a really moving experience, I have to tell you. And we are happy with receiving the Lebanese students every year in Hungary with the aim that they return here, they become respected members of their communities, they contribute to the development of their communities and the whole country as well.
US President Donald Trump, he said, or he has a statement proposal to transfer Gaza residents and annexing parts of the West Bank to Israel. Is the permanent settlement of Palestinians in Lebanon now inevitable, which is a huge challenge to Christian community too?
Okay, so let's separate things and let's concentrate on Lebanon in this regard. I do believe that no country should be expected to do so much for foreigners what Lebanon has been doing. So Lebanon is a country struggling with tremendous economic challenges, we might say that, right? And regardless of these tremendous economic challenges, the country has been taking care of millions of foreigners with very limited international assistance, let's put it this way. And this is very unfair.
Extremely limited.
Yeah, let's say almost zero. So it's very unfair. The expectation is unfair, and the handling of the situation on behalf of the international community is unfair. So everybody in the international community was pushing for Assad to leave Syria, so situation will improve. Now, Assad has left Syria, so I don't really see the reason why international community do not recognize that those Syrians who have left the country because of Assad should now return. Why do we still expect Lebanon to take care of millions who could easily go back to their homes? So I think that the international community should now concentrate on how to help the Syrian people who were forced or felt to be forced to leave their homes to return. I mean, that would be so obvious from my perspective that we shouldn't even argue too much, because this is a definition. That should happen. That should happen. And I do hope and urge the international political organizations, the international community as such, to stand up for the Syrians to return to their homes, with which we could make a huge contribution to the stability of this region. This is number one. Number two, when it comes to the Palestinians. So, I mean, international community should not expect Lebanon to deal with this issue on its own. So I think that a major assistance and support program should be put together for Lebanon to be able to handle this issue. Now, I understand that the King of Jordan is visiting the United States nowadays. I understand that the Foreign Minister of Egypt has visited Washington nowadays. So we are excited to hear the news about those conversations. We understand that there's a more active communication between the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the United States than before. So we see things moving. One thing I definitely would not do. I would never afford to take the statements of President Trump unserious. Why? Because number one, he's President of the United States. Number two, he's a serious person. Number three, he usually delivers on his promises, and there are usually consequences of what he says. So all of us might remember the issue of Abraham Accords. I was the only foreign minister from the entire world who participated at the signing ceremony in the garden of the White House. But I remember when the idea popped up to have Abraham Accords aiming at normalizing relationship between certain Arab countries and Israel, no one believed that. You know, everybody was speaking about this like, you know, oh, it would never happen. Mm-hmm. And it did happen. So
it's a fact.
It's a fact. So if you ask me what I think was or has been or is the most encouraging path, a most hopeful path towards peace in the Middle East, I think this is the path of the Abraham Accords. And I hope that with President Trump re-entering the White House, the idea behind the idea which has created Abraham Accords will be revitalized again.
Mm-hmm. Without going to the two-state solution, Abraham Accords without the solution?
Look, I understand the whole international community speaks about the two-state solution. But in order to have a two-state solution, you need the support of both, right? Mm-hmm. And it's obviously not there now. So speaking about things which do not seem to come to reality soon, I think it's much better to think more about things which might be realistic. Therefore, the way of Abraham Accords was so encouraging to us.
Great. Regarding the war in Ukraine, do you think the resolution of the crisis is near at a time when President Trump seems to be increasing pressure on Russia, while the European Union has renewed its sanctions against Moscow?
Well, the policy of the European Union regarding the Ukraine crisis is just so bad, you know, that it has created so many problems to Europe, to the European continent, to the European people. Is a total failure. Is a total failure. So any kind of politologists who want to see a strategy which is 100% failure, then they should look at what European Union has been doing regarding the war in Ukraine. I mean, the sanctions have given a huge punch, almost a knockout, to the European economy. Only we Hungarians lose around 6 to 7 billion euros on an annual basis with the sanctions. I remember when the sanctions were first initiated 3 years ago, I was sitting around the negotiating table. I raised the question, so what is our goal? Because in order to understand whether the instrument is appropriate or not, you have to understand the goal. And the others said that the goal was to push Russia on its knees and to end the war. Now, 3 years have gone, 15 sanction packages have been implemented, Russia is not on its knees, and the war is not towards its end. So it's a total failure. It has caused tremendous difficulties to the European economy, and it has absolutely not reached far away of reaching any kind of goals. So this is one. Number two, if you are not ready to say at least 10 times a day that Russia must fail, Russia will lose, Ukraine will win, then you are stigmatized immediately as a puppet of Putin, as a friend of Lavrov, as a propagandist of Kremlin, as an agent of the Russians. So you cannot imagine the very low standards of the current political discussions in the European Union. So no platform for real fact-based, argument-based dialogue, just stigmatization, okay? And the European leaders have brought themselves in a trap where they simply cannot realize that regardless of all the huge financial assistance, the huge military assistance, the fact is that the battlefield reality is on the side of Russia. Russia is progressing every day. Russia is occupying territories every day. It's not Ukraine occupying Russia. It's Russia occupying around 1/5 of the territories of Ukraine. So the financial and the military support did not work out. They just prolonged the war. And prolonging the war meant more people died, more people escaped, more suffering took place, and more destruction took place. So why? So therefore, I think that it would be the interest of everyone to stop the war right now. Right now. And we understand that the European leaders are not having the credit to do so, because they have taken a very clear position, considering this war as if it was their own war.
Who will get that credit? President Trump?
Position. And I think President Trump is the only one now who is strong enough. I mean, you have to be a leader of a big and strong country in order to be able to have credits on both sides. So President Trump has credits, I think, and has leverage on both sides. So I do hope that with his, let's say, encouragement, with his dedication, the war could be stopped. This is the only way I see now, no other options.
And do you believe what he said, that Ukraine someday, if we didn't get to an end to war, could be Russia?
Well, if you look at what is happening on the battlefield, is that Russia goes forward every day. Russia occupies other square meters, square kilometers with every day. So if you look at from the perspective of the interest of Ukraine, to have the strongest possible position at the negotiating table, their interest should be to stop immediately, because with every other minute, their position is weakening.
Minister of Foreign Affairs of Hungary, Peter Sziarto, thank you for your time.
Really appreciate it.
And to many more interviews to come.
Thank you so much. Wish you all the best in Lebanon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.